Kenora-Rainy River.
Thank you, Speaker. To the Minister of Natural Resources. Minister, you met with...
Order.
Start over.
To the Minister of Natural Resources. Minister, you met with the Rainy River District delegation that travelled to Queen's Park to ask you and the Premier for your government's help with ensuring the mill in their town resumes operation. They have asked for your help.
Deputy House Leader.
And as Minister, you have a responsibility to the people of Fort Frances. You can't leave this to the two companies to solve. As Minister, you need to involve yourself and your ministry in helping to broker a solution. You know as well as I do that there is more than enough wood in the Crossroot Forest to be able to meet the needs of all parties, and therefore this should be a win-win situation. Minister, the Rainy River District and I are asking you to do your job and help broker a solution that creates jobs in Atikokan, Ignace, and Thunder Bay and saves the 1,000 jobs in Fort Frances.
Question.
Minister, will you do that?
Thank you. Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry.
Speaker, thank you, and I thank the member for the question. Speaker, she is right. We did meet with the delegation, both the Minister of Northern Development and Mines and myself, and I would describe the meeting as productive and conducive to trying to see what we can do to move the process forward. What I would say, too, is to offer my strength of support specifically to Roy Avis, the Mayor of of Fort Frances, who, in my opinion, Speaker, is a true gentleman and who I think is one of the best mayors that we have right across Northern Ontario. I've had opportunities to work with Roy previously, Mayor Avis previously on other files. I very much respect the position that he feels that he's in. I very much respect the position that the community of Fort Frances feels that they are in themselves as a broader community. I understand their fear. I understand their anxiety. And as I've said in this House over the course of the last several days, I'm committed and have still been, we've never stopped, trying to work forward to try and find a solution, not only for Fort Frances, but for the broader community of northwestern Ontario.
Thank you.
Minister, it's reassuring to hear that we have your support, but what we really need is your action. As Minister, you have a responsibility to the people of Fort Frances. The Mayor of Fort Frances and First Nations chiefs from across the Rainy River District came here this week to meet with you and ask you to act. They came 1,800 kilometres after the business deal fell apart because this is a government-related problem having to do with the forest licence. Minister, the clock is ticking. I ask you again, will you find a solution that benefits the people living in communities across the Northwest?
Thank you, Minister.
Speaker, in my first response, I referenced that I very personally can understand and be attenuated to the feelings that are in the community of Fort Frances. In 2005, when the forest industry first started to go through this economic cataclysm, I think it's fair to describe it as, my home community of Thunder Bay was very much affected. There were multiple sawmills and multiple pulp and paper mills that closed that had been there and serviced our community for generations. So I very much respect what is going on in Fort Frances. As I've said repeatedly in the House, we are looking to try and find a solution. I would respectfully suggest also the solutions that have been put forward at this point by the third party are not necessarily things that I think can work. We are open to all options. We're open to all good ideas, but we need to understand there are other forestry operators working right across the province of Ontario who will very closely be paying attention to what we do in response to this particular situation.
Thank you.